Today on Rambling About Cars, no Hemi, no problem. That's going to be the case for 2025. We've got information on the new Ram pickup truck and the electric Ramcharger. We've got a very cool story about Nissan GT-Rs, R34 GT-Rs, the ones that are almost non-forbidden fruit in the United States. And we're going to talk about some engines. We're going to do some cheap car challenges. We got a lot to do, so let's roll. It's podcast time, everybody. I'm Christopher Smith, and across the way, Mr. Chris Bruce. How you doing, man?
Doing well. I need to shave. I'm looking at myself in the camera here, and I need to get the razor out. I'm
just a little hairy. No shave November. No shave November, right?
Is that a thing?
It was when I was watching hockey. I don't know if it's just a hockey thing.
Well.
But I can't do it. I go for a few days and it's just like, no, I'm not ready to be Santa Claus, because this is all white through here now. I had white beard going on in my 20s. I worked that hard.
Though. That's kind of
cool.
I want to throw something out to the listeners here.
Yes.
We are talking about, maybe changing things up format wise next year. Maybe just trying some different things. So for anyone
lots
out
of
there
good
listening,
stuff.
No, this is not a negative thing at all. It's just
lots of good stuff.
Kind of brainstorming.
Lots of good stuff coming.
Yeah, we're just brainstorming what we could do different, what we could do better, stuff like that. So for any listeners out there, let us know what you think. Is there something that we do that you would like more of? Is there something that we do that you would like less of? Is there something we don't do that you think we should do? Like,
feedback time.
Just throw it out there. Like, you're not going to hurt our feelings if like, oh, hey, I hate it when you talk about XYZ. Then, maybe we'll talk about that less. Or I really wish you did this more. Or, just whatever. Let us know.
Feedback time. We're nothing without the Ramblers, so let us know.
Absolutely.
The best way to let us know, podcast@motor1.com. Email us.
That's email address. Or
you could always
right here. You can do that too. And hell,
we'll read the comments. You can comment wherever we're at, which is Motor1 YouTube, Motor1.com Facebook, Motor1.com Twitter. You can comment in all those areas. And of course, we still love our audio listeners on Spotify and
Group
Apple.
FBC says we need to be talking more about painted stripes.
That's not going away anytime soon, man.
No.
Not going away anytime soon.
Expensive on Ferraris, isn't it? I thought so. This is obviously decades ago, but like on the F360, it was like a $12,000 or $15,000 option to get the painted stripes.
You're talking Ferraris. I mean, it doesn't really apply. I mean, because it's Ferrari. Yeah. I mean, everything is expensive there. But if I remember correctly, painted stripes on the 2020 Shelby GT500 Mustang, I think that was like a $10,000 or $12,000 option if you wanted them painted instead of just the vinyl stripes. So painted stripes, man.
Yeah. Real quick. So just because it's fun, and for anyone out there who's listening that wants to participate, we are going to be doing a cheap car challenge at the end of tonight's episode. The theme this time is car to drive during the winter, and you have $2,000 to spend. So budget car, and
make it interesting. I mean, anybody can go out and buy an old Neon, right? Or even in a lot of places, you can find an old beater truck or an old beater SUV. Make it interesting, something that might be interesting to drive. And that's going to be, I mean, that's subjective, right? That's going to be different for everybody out there. I remember when I had a Chevy Metro, aka Geo Metro, that I used for a winter car. I ultimately found that very interesting, and I'm weird like that, but it was an interesting thing to drive. So $2,000, you're driving it through winter. Make it interesting. And we're going to be doing this later on in the show. And if you want to do some shopping here in the meantime, you can jump in. You can join us. You can jump into the comments. If you're a brand new Rambler and you're like, hey, what is this program that I just stumbled upon on YouTube or Facebook? You can comment right there, right now, because we're live. It comes into our command central here. We see your comments, and you can join the ride right along with us. We can respond as you come in with a comment. So
our buddy
we
Group
love seeing it.
FBC out of Australia, he said there was a local guy here with a white car with blue stripes, except it started as the blue car. He painted the rest of the car white. So that's a
Oh,
way to do that. It's like a
that's
reverse stripe.
that's a pretty sneaky way. Instead of painting the stripes, you paint the car.
Right. And then just mask off what you don't want to be the other color.
I feel like there is a philosophical discussion there. Like the stripes are already there. You just need to paint around them. Every car has painted stripes, Bruce. You just need to paint around them.
It's like jazz. It's the notes you don't play.
And yeah, it's 5 minutes in. We're off the rails already. This is key rambling about cars right here. So yeah, wherever you're at out there, type in your comments. Let us know what you'd like to see more of on the show. Email us podcast@motorone.com. Let us know what you'd like to see, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. 2024 is going to be quite a year. I'm really looking forward to it. And we're already doing some stuff right now in the planning phase. So,
but let's kick this show off. We're going to start out, honestly, the biggest vehicle debut of the past week. I think I would call it that. That is the newly refreshed and significantly updated 2025 Ram 1500.
Yeah.
We just got that this week. I'm vamping here a second while I find the gallery.
And I mean, it's still fresh right now because obviously it's just this week. I have a feeling it's going to be one of the. I have a feeling this is sort of like the mango habanero hot sauce of cars right now. In that,
what the hell does that mean?
It doesn't feel like it's really that big of a deal now, but as time goes on, it's going to be like, oh, okay, that's pretty spicy. It's gonna sneak up on you because there's a lot going on here. Obviously, it's big news right now. We're also now starting to look towards LA Auto Show, which is just a little over a week away at this point. And obviously, we had good traffic in at Motor One on this truck. It's a refresh of the current generation Ram. It's not a completely new generation.
But it's a significant refresh. There's refreshes that are, we made some tweaks here, we made some tweaks there. There are some major changes to this truck. Most notably, and as you kind of referenced at the beginning of the show, the 5.7 liter Hemi V8 is gone. That's been around for 20 years, I bet.
Thereabouts. I think when, if memory serves, and we know how well my memory goes, everybody, don't we? If memory serves, I think the modern iteration of the Hemi V8 launched in the Dodge Ram at that point. First. And then it percolated its way into other vehicles after. So,
but that's an engine that's been there a long time, for decades, and is now gone. Instead of getting that naturally aspirated V8, now the high performance engine is a twin turbocharged 3-liter inline 6. Stellantis, Dodge, whomever, they call it the Hurricane. It's also an engine that you can get in Jeeps and things like that. And it's going to be available in 2 levels of tune in the Ram. The standard version makes 420 horsepower, 469 pound-feet of torque, or there'll be a high-performance version with 540 horsepower, 521 pound-feet of torque, and then the naturally aspirated 3.6-liter V6 is still sticking around as the base engine. So you can no longer get a V8 in your Ram pickup.
No more V8. So yeah, no Hemi, no problem. We'll wait and see on that. We know Hemi and Dodge, and then when Ram spun off to be its own brand, Ram, Hemi has been tied with this vehicle for 20 years.
It's at least 20 years,
So there's a lot of love for that engine. It'll be interesting to see how it goes forward. My take in the beginning, no Hemi, no problem, ? I say no Hemi, no problem, ! Because I think this Hurricane, everything that I've seen and heard about the Hurricane engine is good. 540 horsepower in its top trim. That's an impressive output. One thing we don't have yet, we don't have fuel economy ratings for the engine yet. I really want to see those because The Hemi, it didn't do bad for what it was, but in my take, you know what, we can do better. It's time to move on.
Did that
This
Ram you had
inline
for a little
six,
while, was it a Hemi or did you have the V6?
that was actually prior. My Ram was old enough; it predated the return of the Hemi. I had a
Oh, okay.
'99. I had a '99 Dodge Ram 1500, two-wheel drive SLT. It had the 5.9 liter Magnum V8 in it.
Okay. The other Magnum. Okay.
And
Wasn't sure.
I was lucky to get 12 miles to the gallon out of that.
I bet.
Driving
I
it
bet.
easily, I was really disappointed with that. I mean, it had decent power. But yeah, that's why I say, hey, you know what? Bring on the inline six. An inline six doesn't bother the Cummins guys, the diesel guys. So the
Right.
gas guys, hopefully, they will make this transition. I think it's an awesome step. I think it's a good step. I think it's a step in the right direction. The engine, though, I mean, that's not the only thing that's new here. We have two new
No.
we have two new trims that I want to mention here really quick because we have
Sure.
a new range topping trim for the Ram 1500. That's tungsten. And I want to point out we don't have any pricing information yet, so we don't know
No.
how this is going to shake out as a range topper. But we do know, I mean, it's coming with 24-way power massaging, ventilated, heated seats. Leather is everywhere. Suede is everywhere. It's got a 23 speaker stereo system. I mean, it's a luxury truck. And then aside from that, not only is the Hemi dead, the TRX is dead, at least for right now. Whether TRX comes back in some future variant is unclear, but fear not, because there is the RHO. And I don't know, Bruce, did we catch what that stands for? I didn't see anything in the official announcement on what RHO stands for, but there's the
That's
Ram
honestly
RHO.
agreed. I think that would be a really good thing to reach out to Ram tomorrow and find out what RHO stands for, because there's nothing obvious about it. Certainly, at least, TRX, well, it didn't really stand for anything. It always had that T-Rex thing inside it had the T-Rex inside the center console when you open it up and stuff like that. RHO is just letters. So we'll have to find out.
Yeah. RHO, don't know yet what it means. We do know it'll have that 540 horsepower version of the twin turbo inline six. And it's supposed to basically have the same underpinnings, the suspension setup, all of that, of the TRX. So in that respect, you might think of it as a TRX with a bit less with a bit less power. The images that we have, it looks like the TRX. It's got the wider stance. It's got the 3 orange marker lights in the grille. One thing I want to point out, Ram hasn't released very much information on RHO, and we have contacted them a little bit to try to find out a little bit more. They said more information will come at a later date. We do know that truck isn't even going to be available until the third quarter of next year, well into 2024. So more to come on RHO. Honestly, though, it might open more doors for people in the Ram community that really dig that TRX, but just can't afford it, right? Because I mean, it's a pretty expensive truck just to start with, and then once you add in some options and packages, it goes over 6 figures pretty easily. Meanwhile, over in Camp Ford, you still have a Raptor with 450 horsepower that gives you the stance, the feel of the Raptor without the big muscle of the Raptor R. So this could be a good thing, and it leaves a door open for, would it be, I don't know, an RHOR? Total speculation there. But I mean, it does leave a little bit more room if they wanted to go with some big bonkers muscle truck once again.
And the other thing that we haven't talked about yet, and you were talking about opening doors to new buyers, and that is Ram has revived. Well, it was obviously the Dodge Ramcharger at the time, but it is now the Ramcharger, and that name is back in a completely different form.
Completely.
Back in the old days, that was an SUV. It was essentially Dodge's effort to compete against vehicles like the Ford Bronco and the Chevy K5 Blazer. Now, Ramcharger, and it's a really kind of fun play on words if you think about it, is a electric pickup. It is not a purely electric pickup. Like we were talking about the Mazda's iconic SP concept last week, where it had a rotary acting as a range extender just to charge the batteries. This vehicle has a 3.6 liter V6 that does not run the wheels at all. It functions totally as a range extender to charge the batteries. And I real quick before we start talking about this vehicle, there's something I found hilarious, and I don't know, Smith, if you saw this. Our pals over at IEVs wrote up a story saying that Ram claims it has unlimited range because obviously you can fill up the tank and then keep going. You never have to plug this in because it's got the gasoline engine there. But that's the same thing as saying any car has unlimited range because you can put gas in it.
Yeah.
Like, as long as gas is in the tank, you have range. Like,
that's sort of not the point, though. I mean, it's marketing spin in a wonderful way. And okay, so honestly, I'm still not sure where I fall on Ramcharger. I haven't had much time to look around on the socials to see, okay, what are the Ramcharger people, like the OG Ramcharger, how are they feeling about the Ramcharger name being back, not on a smaller two-door, Bronco type competitor, older Bronco competitor, I should say, but a big old full-size quad cab pickup truck. There are a lot of people that are really passionate about that Ramcharger name. So I'm curious to see what's going to happen there, how that's going to shake down. And now we have the whole, okay, it's an electric truck, but it's an electric truck with a V6 and a 27-gallon fuel tank.
Mm-hmm.
So is it the best of both worlds? Is it the worst of both worlds? This is honestly, I'm still trying to figure this out. There is a bit of brilliance here, though, because yes, you can use this like a regular familiar truck that you know right now. You stop, you fill up the gas tank, it starts the engine charges the battery, away you go. I don't know yet. I mean, okay, so if you get down to where you are like an eighth of a tank, you need to stop, you need to fill up. I don't know how quickly that charges the battery. I don't know if there might be a little bit of time where you have to just sit and let it run to charge it. That's something we still don't know about. There's still a lot. It's sort of like the RHO. There's a lot of information that still needs to come out on Ramcharger.
That's been an issue with other range extended vehicles, but I could be the implementations vary, from vehicle to vehicle. So it's hard to say. I would hope they wouldn't do that, but yeah, that's something we would not need to find out. And like you said, it has a 27-gallon fuel tank. It also has a 95 kilowatt hour battery pack, which is pretty good size.
It's not a small battery, and it makes me wonder, okay, how much does this weigh? I can't recall if we had official information on electric only range.
Only range I have not seen, but total range, Ram is saying 690 miles.
690 miles. Now that's using your that's using the battery plus the 27-gallon fuel tank. Now, everybody, all the regular ramblers out there know I am terrible at math. That's why I write for a living instead of Christopher Smith accountant. Nah, that's not going to fly. 690 miles.
Correct.
27-gallon fuel tank. What's your miles per gallon there? Isn't that somewhere around like 25, 26 miles to the gallon?
Dude, you're making me do math.
That's
why I'm a writer.
I mean, I did the numbers, and unless I'm miscalculating, I think it's somewhere around there. And
I'm seeing 25.5.
And isn't it kind of not much different than say a diesel. I mean, if you're going to look at it from that perspective, right? Why even bother with the electric motors and the battery? At least from a range perspective, right? Because I mean, if you're going long distance, okay,
But
now
we should say this has a lot more power than what a diesel would have. So it
yes,
has a 335 horsepower electric motor at the front and a 319 horsepower motor at the back. They have not said what total output, or I'm sorry, they actually have said what total
yeah,
output is. I'm a moron. 663
663,
horsepower,
yeah.
615 pound-feet of torque.
0 to 60 in
That's
4.4 seconds, tows 14,000 pounds.
that's a
I mean,
lot of power and a lot of towing and a lot of stuff.
it's super capable, and this is why I still don't know how I feel about this, because I want to say, okay, it's the worst of both worlds. It's like, why am I buying an electric truck if I'm still going to carry around a V6 engine with an exhaust system, with a cooling system, with all of this stuff that I don't want to deal with anyways, along with a generator on board, plus 2 electric motors, plus the battery. What is this going to weigh a gazillion pounds? Is that really the best of both worlds? But then you think, okay, this is an electric truck. That engine isn't driving the wheels. The electric motors are. So if you aren't driving longer distances, it's in a lot of ways like a plug-in hybrid where you can just run around and not even start that gas engine. And if you're commuting 30, 40 miles a day to work or something, the only time you might have to use your engine is if you're taking longer trips or if you're towing something that's going to zap your battery. So maybe Ram is onto something here. I still don't know how I feel. I need some more time to think about the pluses and the minuses.
So 2 things. First off, I was wrong. We actually do have electric only range. That is 145 miles electric only. That's before, the engine kicks on. Secondly, you have to remember the Ram Rev is coming next year as well, and that is fully
that
electric.
Is totally bad.
There's no engine. It is fully electric. So Ram is doing a really interesting thing where you're going to be able to get, purely combustion power. You're going to be able to get the Ramcharger where you have a combustion engine as a range extender. And then you're going to be able to get a fully electric pickup as well, depending on, what your needs are, what your budget is, what you prefer. Like they're kind of covering the whole spectrum of what, a customer could conceivably want there.
Right. And again, I come back to, okay, it seems like the biggest complaint or worry that I hear from truck people right now regarding electric trucks is I can't tow anything anywhere because it zaps my range. And even in the best of conditions, it'll still take me, maybe a half hour or so to get some meaningful range back. This would, in theory, solve that.
Yeah.
Because you would be just pumping fuel back into the tank. But if you're buying an electric vehicle, in theory, you're doing that because you don't want any more internal combustion.
You don't want to do that,
right? So it's one of those. It's a quandary, man. It's a quandary. And Ramblers, I mean, give us feedback on this big time. Podcast@motor1.com email if you're not catching us live. If you are catching us live right now, jump into the comments. I see Group FBC is in here, and I know there's other people listening out there. Yep. Group FBC, you're saying we're talking about the theoretical miles per gallon. That's a good point. That's based on starting with a 100% battery charge. And it's also worth noting that 690 miles, that's an estimate right now. It may be more, it may be less, but I mean,
I love Adam Green. I was told there would be no math. Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
So was I.
Sorry. Hey, we're figuring it out. We've got calculators. I've got an old manual flight computer around here somewhere where once upon a time I was trying to be a pilot. Maybe, I don't know, maybe with my affinity for numbers, it's good that I didn't go all the way through and get my pilot's license.
I'm going to share this with Group of FBC because he asked about it. And so vamp for me for just a hot second here while I pull stuff up.
Wait, it only, the comment, yeah. It only gets 145 miles from the 92 kilowatt hour battery, my God, and I thought the same thing. That is not a good. That is not a good range.
Right there. All that energy can propel the EV to 60 miles per hour in 4.4 seconds, with the battery providing about 145 miles of electric-only range.
It's a big battery, and that's not much range, but you have the gasoline engine. You have the gasoline engine to charge up the battery. So again, we're coming back to this question of I'm buying an electric truck because I don't want to go to the gas station all the time. I don't want that. I don't want internal combustion. I want electric power. But now here I have this truck where as long as I don't go, more than 100, 140 miles a day, which in reality, a lot of people just in their daily drive, you're not driving that far. The only time you're doing things like that, if you're taking short trips somewhere, and really, 145 miles isn't that far.
It's more than you would drive in a day, certainly, if you commuting to work and back.
Oh well, I'm just thinking, okay, where I'm at in northern Michigan, it's nothing for me to take a 45 or 50 mile drive just to go to an area where there are some better stores to do some shopping. So right there, and I get there, I get there in about an hour. So, 2 hours of driving, I've killed almost, a good portion of my range. If I were to go, say, down to Mount Pleasant, that's about 80 miles one way. Be there in a little over an hour. That kills my entire battery right there.
Right.
So it's definitely on the low side, but you're getting that
kicks on and
you're getting the engine. Yeah.
690 miles of range. So
and that wipes away all the concern. And if you're, well, I can go round and round and round in circles. I still have to decide how I feel about this, and that's not going to be answered tonight.
I don't think we have to decide how we feel about it. I think it's worth presenting the information and then seeing what these vehicles are actually like. Because again, this is a 2025 model year vehicle, and so we by that time, theoretically, the Cybertruck's going to be out there. The F-150 Lightning will certainly already be out there.
Yeah.
The Chevy and the Sierra EVs should be out. Like, they're going to be competitors in this field. Hell, the Ram Rev, it's interesting because it's kind of competing against this, is going to be out there. So I think it's fine not to have a definitive opinion on this vehicle right now, a few days after it debuted. Let's wait and see how it stacks up to the competition at that time.
I will say this much. I think Ram might be onto something just from the discussion that's being spurred here. It's certainly raising some eyebrows. That much is certain. If you think about it this way, this truck works as an electric daily driver for just about every conceivable work commute. I don't know many people that are commuting 50 miles one way. I did for a little while earlier in my career. It sucked, and I just moved closer to where I work. Not saying that people don't do it.
No, people do it, but it's the exception rather than the rule.
So you're driving your full-size truck as a daily driver, as a commuter, with just electric power that you can plug in and charge up at home, just like your regular EV. And then when you want to tow the camper up north for a weekend camping trip that's 300 miles away, you can do it
or the boat,
and not have to worry, and not have to worry about trying to find a charger. You still have your gasoline engine that you can rely on. The downside is you have the best and the worst of both worlds then, I guess, at this point, because now you have all of the EV components to maintain, which in theory should be much less. And then you have all of the combustion components that you still need to maintain.
Oil changes. You're still going to have to, buy gas.
I gotta see the weight on this thing.
Yeah, we
145 miles of range with a 96 kilowatt hour battery. More to come.
Yeah, totally.
More to come on that. But that's pretty big news. We didn't even mention that we should mention this before we move on, Bruce. Obviously, there's a little. more ramp stuff. There's obviously the facelift. The grill is a little bit bigger outside.
Oh yeah,
I think it's a handsome look. Inside, you get an optional passenger screen now.
You do.
On some trims, you have now your I have it written down here. What 12.3-inch driver digital display. You can get up to a 14.5-inch center display, and now you can get an optional 10.25-inch passenger screen, so your passenger can watch stuff as well.
I wonder whether that's technology I just wonder about, because so for example, my wife and I, we go on a lot of road trips. But she'll just like look at her phone if I'm driving, or I'll look at my phone if she's driving, or stuff like that, because it's got all my apps and stuff on there. I just wonder, is that tech that actually gets used? And I don't know. Like, I've never had a vehicle with that. Maybe it's incredibly useful. I wonder.
Well, I have a feeling that if the passenger can control much of the infotainment functions from that screen, it would be useful, because there are many times where I'll be driving, I'll ask my wife, "Hey, can you plug in the address for here, just so we can have it up in Google Maps, we can get traffic alerts, things like that." So she's working the center screen. I mean, it's in the Forester, right? So I mean, it's pretty close together. But on a vehicle that might be a little bit further away, or especially on some of them where the infotainment is canted a little bit towards the driver, I can see it being far more convenient to just boop, 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 boop on the passenger screen. And I mean, for some situations where if the passenger just wants to watch movies or some other form of entertainment that wouldn't be accessible on the main screen.
Yeah, that I feel like you do on your phone. But I agree with your stuff about if you could plug in, navigation, or pull up. My wife calls it playing the DJ of, like, figuring out what we're going to listen to next. So
that's passenger seat requirements right there. I mean, you are the DJ.
Yeah.
Shotgun, you are the DJ.
Few things I want to bring up before we change topics here. Ted Adam Green says, "I wonder how you know when it's time to change the oil." And Grupa FBC, because he's the clever man that he is, Ted Adam Green, when it stops leaking and there's no longer a fresh oil stain when you park. So bravo to that. And then I also wanted to call out Blizzard 0711 said,
yes,
next week, the LA Auto Show, what can we expect? And I'm going to throw this up here real quick.
I was going to say, Bruce,
you wrote up.
We just published this about an hour and a half before. If we want to do an audible, we weren't going to talk about it here, but yes,
we can go
Blizzard,
real quick.
Blizzard, thanks for joining us, and thanks for jumping in with the comments. We can give you a little bit of information on that. I have a suspicion that there's still might be more to come. Usually we get at least one surprise or so from an automaker as we're leading up to an auto show, because right now, LA, it feels like it's going to be a fairly sizable show. We have 4 debuts right now that we know are coming.
And I think you're right. There's going to be more, but
and I'm talking about major automakers here. I mean, it's always possible smaller startups might come in and unveil things that we may or may not have information on ahead of time. So from a standpoint of major manufacturers, we know Subaru is going to be there with a quote unquote fully redesigned vehicle.
Yeah.
That we believe is a next generation Forester. The current generation Forester launched in 2018, I believe it was. It had a refresh in 2021, 2022, somewhere around there. So the time frame kind of fits for a new vehicle. It's the oldest vehicle in their lineup, so we think Subaru is going to be there with a new Forester. We also know that Lucid will be there with its second production vehicle, the Lucid Gravity. It was, I think, 3 years and like almost 2 months ago when this was first announced by Lucid that, hey, we're going to do an SUV. We've seen prototypes in production. We've seen prototypes in testing in public. They've issued some teasers. We've sort of seen the whole thing from the outside, but never one shot where it's really clear. They've always been like some distance away, or maybe the angle isn't just quite right. So Lucid will finally be presenting the Gravity official. with views from all sides. Presumably, they will have full information on the production model. We know Toyota will be there with the Crown SUV. And Toyota's been teasing this the last couple of weeks or so. It's one of those situations where this vehicle, we're fairly certain, we're fairly certain it's already the Toyota Crown Estate that's available in Japan. When you look at the back, I mean, everything lines up perfectly with the back. The only difference that I've noticed, Bruce, the teasers here have a windshield wiper on the back window. And when you look at the Japan model, there's no windshield wiper back there.
That's pretty minor.
But it's going to be pretty minor. We're almost positive this will be the Toyota Crown Estate that's already debuted for the Japanese market. Whether it's called Crown Estate, we don't exactly know yet. We've heard there might be a different name, but we know that's definitely coming. That's already been confirmed by Toyota. And then just today,
we just found out about today. Yeah,
we've got the Ford Mustang GT California Special. This isn't necessarily going to be a new model. Obviously, the 2024 Mustang debuted last year, 7th generation car. But this teaser image just dropped today. And to be completely forthright and transparent, Ford has not said, hey, we're debuting a California Special at the LA Auto Show. Ford CEO Jim Farley just in a tweet said, really excited for what's next for the Mustang, and then gave us this shadowed photo. That's the front of a Ford Mustang, a 2024 Mustang. The letters GT/CS are very, very clear to see. That is 100,000% the badge for the California Special. So there's really no mystery there. What's interesting here, however, it's a very shadowed teaser, and a long-time journalist trick when automakers send out these darkened teasers, you throw them in Photoshop and we lighten them up, because sometimes whoever's doing the photo processing, they take like a regular full production type photo and just turn the brightness down and send it out. We turn the brightness back up. Oops, they actually revealed their vehicle and they didn't mean to. So we always do that with these. Ford is at least onto that because we turned it up. Okay, it doesn't really show anything extra. But when you look on the lower left side, there's a date and there are coordinates. And the date is November 11th, 2023. Coordinates take you to some mall south of Los Angeles. So 11/11/23, is that going to be when it debuts? That would be a little bit before LA, but I can't believe they would take the covers off of a California Special south of Los Angeles a week before the LA Auto Show with the freaking name being California and then not have it at the show. So, so that's what we have going on there right now with the larger debuts that we know are going to be happening in LA. And stay tuned at motor1.com because I'm fairly certain, like I said, we usually get some surprises somewhere, whether it's an embargo the night before or sometimes the day of when an automaker just really wants to keep something secret. So stay tuned. And Blizzard, thanks for joining us and thanks for the comment.
Well, let's move on to a story you actually wrote, Smith, and it exploded on motor1.com.
I see what you did there.
Well, yeah. It
exploded like this engine. Look at that.
Yes. It is a Ford 2.7 liter EcoBoost V6 that someone took in. I don't know. Do we know what company took it in? It kind of doesn't matter. They took it in as a core because, they're swapping out the engine. So they did a video teardown of it, and it's fascinating because it looks fine at the beginning. And then it continues to look fine.
Oh yeah, he takes it apart.
Oh my God, what happened here?
But I mean, from the beginning that there's something wrong, and I equated it to like one of the crime murder mysteries. We know something happened here. Now we need to investigate. This was an engine pulled from a
on mute while you're talking. And
okay. Yep, this was an engine from a 2015 to 2017 Ford F-150 It's the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. It was a core return, and then the gentleman on this YouTube channel. Bruce, do you have the article pulled up? I want to make sure we reference the YouTube channel here. I Do Cars is the YouTube channel. He has a lot of engine teardowns, and I think you're going to be seeing more of these because he does a really good job. It's just he's very good on camera. We get great views, and if you're kind of a mechanical car nerd like I am, it's neat to see these engine teardowns, to investigate, to try to find out what happened. It's also eye-opening to see some of the complexities in these engines. And yeah, this is a case of he bought this core from the company. It's the 2.7 liter EcoBoost. I think it's the first generation of the 2.7 liter EcoBoost engine. Didn't know what was wrong with it. So it's like, okay, we got the engine. We're going to tear it down. We're going to see what's going on. And yeah, it starts off, everything looks good, right?
Everything's fine. Like, you're like, okay. It's just,
I mean, even looking at the spark plugs, it's like, well, the spark plugs on one bank, he said, felt like they'd been removed once already and then reinstalled because the tightness felt a little different. But they were still original factory plugs installed from the factory because they still had the paint dots on them. And he also noticed then that some of the wiring harnesses on that particular side of the engine were unplugged. So that's sort of the start of the clues. Okay, it looked like attention was given to this side of the engine. So okay, we're tearing things down, and I love how he's just struggling with the wiring harness with it out of the truck. I can't imagine doing that work in the truck. Just a mass of wires. Gets the wiring harness off. Pulls the intake plenum up top, taking a look inside. Nope, things still look pretty good in there. Eventually, we get over to the cam covers or the valve covers, depending on.
I'm going to skip forward a bit just because
on your terminology.
That's when things start going bad.
Well, the covers come off. Okay, things look pretty good in there. The cam lobes, everything looks good. Nothing. There doesn't seem to be anything broken. Looking at the cam phasers, the timing chains are fine. The cam phasers, I think he was starting to see some little sparkly bits in the cam phasers. And then taking off the turbos, one of the turbos looked like there's quite a bit of oil going through it, but the turbo wasn't bad. He also noticed on one of those just little filters for the turbo, little more sparkly bits. Okay, that's indicating that at some point, some metal was going through this oiling system. So something happened somewhere. Oh, and I want to mention right off the bat, before doing anything, he puts a wrench on the crank and he's turning it over. He's like, okay, yeah, it still feels like it has compression. He even says right in the beginning, he's like, man, I hope I don't completely tear down a totally good engine.
Sure.
Yeah. It's not a totally good engine. We finally get down. We get the heads off. The one bank, everything looks good there. The pistons look good.
One bank is fine.
The head looks good. The other one comes off, and
that's when the trouble starts.
What happened to the top part of that piston? Oh, the top part of that aluminum piston is actually now part of the block. The long story short is
there. You can see it.
Yep, we can see it right there. There's a big chunk of the piston missing from the top, and he zooms in. He's like, "Where did that piece of metal go?" And then he goes, "Oh, it's like there in the block where it got so hot that it actually just melted. Melted that little bit of piston right into the cylinder wall."
As I was writing up the post for the podcast, how hot does that have to be to melt aluminum? Like, I don't even know what you do to do that. Like,
I mean, you have the heat, you have the pressure in there. And of course, it also then on the bottom side of that head where the combustion chamber is, obviously that messed up the combustion chamber, those valves. He eventually takes the rest of the engine apart, gets the bottom end all out of it, pulls the piston out. I mean, the piston is just totally deformed on one side. It's one of those things where you look at it, and I bet the engine was still running. I bet it made a hellacious noise. And obviously it was down a cylinder. But it's one of those cases where the investigation, the journey is kind of exciting because you're going step by step and nope, it's not here. Nope, it's not here. Did he probably have a good idea of what was wrong from the get-go? Possibly. I mean, my first
Well, I
thought
mean, the
on this,
engine was traded as a core.
yeah,
Clearly, there was probably some issue somewhere.
yeah,
Otherwise, it would still be in whatever vehicle that it was in. But
right.
you
And
don't
I
expect the piston to be essentially welded to the cylinder. That's not what you expect to find.
it's one of those little things where, okay, obviously there's probably going to be something wrong on the bottom end. What did it spin a bearing and now we're going to find like a busted rod or a bunch of big metal chunks in the pan? It's like, nope, there wasn't really even much of that. That little chunk of piston just melted into the cylinder wall and it melted the piston in the process.
Yeah.
Whether the block is usable again, we don't know. I mean, certainly some parts are going to be usable from that engine, but I mean, it's the process. It's the tearing it down. It's looking inside, and it's getting to know the engine. I mean, for example, the oil pump is chain driven on these, and I learned that the second generation it's belt driven. Now it's supposed to be a super reinforced belt, but man, I would rather have that. I would rather have that be chain driven than belt driven.
Sure.
Especially when you're talking. I mean, I'm sure that's probably an engine out procedure if you have a belt brake.
It's got to be. It has to be.
So, I mean, just things like that you learn in the process. And he does a really good job. I feel like I could go tear down a 2.7 right now, and that would be hilarious. And if I were to videotape that, it might get some clicks on YouTube just because I would be like, yeah, I got this. And then like 45 minutes later, I'd be drunk because I would have just given up and gone to the bottle.
Gone to the bottle. Yeah.
just given up and gone to the bottle just because I couldn't find the 10 millimeter, right? Hey, where's the 10 millimeter socket? Damn it, it's always missing. But no, this was an enjoyable watch with kind of a surprise there at the end, seeing how that little chunk of piston is just kind of part of the cylinder wall now.
Yeah.
And Motor One readers, we thank you for enjoying the video along with us, because this might end up being one of the biggest traffic articles we've had all year.
Yep.
And
it'll be on the list, certainly.
And I'm looking forward to doing more of these. Again, let me just give a shout out to the channel here. It's
here we can see the piston and just how messed up that thing is. Like
that cylinder got
I'm not
hot.
going to use a swear word, but that's not what it's supposed to look like, folks.
It's toast. It's toast. It's one of those, oh, well, there's your problem moments, right?
Exactly.
You don't have to be an expert to know, okay, that's not supposed to have a hole in the side like that. What caused it to get hot? That's still a mystery. That's something that we don't know. And at the end of this video, he actually does a very good job of, listing all kinds of various reasons. Yeah. It's messed up, man.
You could put your pinky finger into that, or I could put my pinky finger into that, certainly.
It's messed up. I also want to point out there, I mean, he mentions all kinds of various reasons that you could get a cylinder hot enough like this to basically burn a piston. He also points out that this isn't necessarily just a Ford EcoBoost issue. He's seen issues, he's seen burnt pistons like this on many engines. His take was in tearing down the EcoBoost. He says this is one of the first EcoBoost engines he's had the chance to tear down. And he was pretty impressed overall with what he saw, just with the strength, the build quality. He felt that it was a pretty overbuilt engine. Mm-hmm. This one, obviously not. It has a smoky piston. Also worth pointing out, we have no idea the mileage on the engine. Nope. He thinks it was probably under
what the owner, what kind of the service history was.
We don't know the service history, although in taking the engine apart, I mean, when you look into the valve train, you don't see a lot of varnish. That tends to point in the direction of, okay, the oil changes at least were done regularly, on time, and with a good quality oil. And he did note that in there. Also, don't know if this engine was running with any sort of modifications, whether it had like a like a high performance filter with maybe a performance tune. Don't know any of that. We just know that one cylinder got really hot and one piston did not like that.
Yeah. I want to call out Philip. I believe you're a first time commenter. We always
Patrick.
like calling out our first time I said Philip. I'm sorry. Patrick.
Patrick.
I don't
Patrick
know why
Stark.
I said
Welcome,
Philip.
Patrick. Welcome
Patrick
to
Philip
Rambling
Stark.
About Cars.
Welcome to the show. Thanks so much. We love having you. I don't know why I called you Philip. Patrick. What am I thinking?
You're thinking of the Phillips screwdriver it's going to take to try to pry some of that crap out of that cylinder. That's what you're thinking.
That's right. Yep.
I got your back, Bruce.
I don't know. I saw a P name, and for some reason, I don't know why I went to Philip. I don't know. It just happened.
But yeah, I just want to give one more shout out. That channel is I Do Cars on YouTube.
It is.
We do have the channel linked at motor1.com. And I'm going to keep a closer eye. I've seen him do some teardowns before. I don't know that we've ever covered one on Motor One, but I know there have been some engines that have been pretty interesting. And I always thought, okay, this is probably going to be a little, maybe a little too deep for reader. Who wants to see somebody tear an engine down? Guess what? Apparently a lot of you people want to see an engine torn down, especially when it involves melting a piston into a cylinder. So look for more content like that at motor1.com. And we're going to talk more about that stuff here on Rambling About Cars when it comes up too, because
we are.
I love that sort of thing. I've got an engine sitting out in the garage and I'm half afraid to try to get started. I don't know. Maybe I'll end up welding a piston into the cylinder on that one as well.
I hope you don't. We want to highlight a really amazing story that we were lucky enough to be able to publish on motor1.com. This comes from Ryan Zumalin, and he has a book coming out. It is called Cult of GTR, a true story of crime, obsession, and the world's most coveted car. We were lucky enough to be able to publish a portion of this, and it's really cool portion. It turns out that there is essentially an aircraft hangar. It's not literally an aircraft hangar, but it's an aircraft hangar sized space about 20 miles outside of Tokyo that is full of Nissan Skyline GT-Rs.
Not just any GT-Rs. Yes.
Yeah, specifically R34 GT-Rs. And the reason you might be wondering why they're there is that in the United States, we have what's colloquially called the 25-year rule. That is that the Department of Transportation, once a foreign car, reaches 25 years, you can bring it into the country legally and not have to worry about federalizing it, with proper, DOT stuff. I will add real quick that it is not 25 years from the car's introduction. It is 25 years from the car's date that it left the factory. So say car left September 22nd, 1999. You could not import that legally into the United States until September 22nd, 2024. And the reason I say that is that the R34 GT-R was introduced in 1999. So this person has collected roughly 60 of these cars and has them in this hangar and is just waiting essentially until roughly a year from now, depending on the production. So, there's probably some 2000 or 2001s in there too, but the earliest ones would be from 1999, and then plans to start exporting them to the United States for buyers to purchase.
Yeah, it's a great story. Vampire Bear 13, it's good to see you. Makes the comment that hangar belongs to Top Rank Imports USA. That's actually mentioned, I believe, in the write-up. Is it not, Bruce?
Yes, it is.
I'm pretty sure that's mentioned in there. It's stories like this I love reading, and I know it's going to be different for our listeners outside the United States because I know at least some of you have driven these cars for years. I was like, oh, okay, well, what's the big deal? Well, they're cool cars, and we haven't had a chance to get them. So there is a lot of excitement. I've been fortunate. I haven't been in an R34. I've been in an R32. And the first thing that I didn't expect when it came upon one is how small they are. I thought these were bigger vehicles, and they're surprisingly small. I was a little shocked at how small they were. And just cool cars, right? Cool cars.
Totally.
I love that some of these have been sitting in there for years. Like people bought them years ago. And they're waiting, and occasionally
like,
they might go over to see their car.
Yeah.
You know?
Apparently one had been in the building for 7 years at least. Like it's they're just, someone is just like, one of these days I just gotta wait a little bit longer and then I can put it on a boat and bring it to the United States. And that's really cool. Like, you know.
Yeah, we were fortunate to get that story. Another good another good piece of traffic that we saw at Motor One with this.
Even if it done bad traffic, it's still a
it's
cool
certainly worth talking about.
Just this hangar of Nissans just waiting to come to the United States, and
and it's heartening.
A few of them will start coming over.
And it's heartening to me to see other people interested in this sort of thing, which is why we want to try to bring it here onto the podcast as well. I mean, I still get angry about a really, really heartfelt story that I wrote several years ago about stage rally in the United States. I'm a big stage rally fan. There aren't that many of us in the United States, but those of us that are here are just extraordinarily passionate about it. A lot of research, had a lot of information, just wrote my heart out on that article. And it's like nobody gave a crap about it. And then like a week later, I wrote an article, something like, here's why gas prices should be more expensive. And everybody was on that article. And it's just like attention spans, right?
The thing is, it's as long as you love it. I think that's, as long as you're proud of what you're writing, then it's okay. If, I've had stories that I've been super proud of that no one ends up reading, but I'm still proud of them. So it's,
I'm still proud of that one.
Yeah,
but I'm super excited, super happy to see so much interest in this one. And I need to read the book. I need to get the book.
Oh yeah, I would love to read the book. I think we should definitely do that. And maybe, even have the author on the show to talk more about it, because, if this one chapter is any indication, then the book seems pretty fantastic.
I am absolutely down to do that. Bruce, if you can vamp for just a minute here, I want to get a link into our chat here.
Oh, I can vamp all day. It fascinates me that, the passion that people have for cars, and the way that, people will tuck away cars in this, glorified airplane hangar for years and just wait for them to, be able to bring into the country legally. It just really shows the passion that people have. And I love it.
Vamp a little longer because our link in the article doesn't work. I'm going to have to fix that after the podcast.
Oh, okay. Not the podcast post I wrote, right?
No, in our article, there's a link to where people can buy the book called the GT-R.
That's broken. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely have to fix that.
And that link isn't working. So
that's
what I'm gonna. Okay. I'll come. Yeah, I'll come back on the YouTube post. I'll make sure we get a link in there, and I'll make sure we get a link here into the podcast post as well, because I'm not able to get it nabbed up here right away.
Yeah. But no, I think Ryan's book, just based on the single chapter I've read, it seems like it's a really good read. It seems like it's a really fun read, and I want to read more of it because I want to know more Nissan GT-R stuff. And
I spoke too soon. Link is in the chat right now, folks. CarreraBooks.com, Cult of GT-R. Awesome read.
Very good.
Awesome read. Hey, are you ready for a cheap car challenge?
I know I am.
How about you, Ramblers? You guys ready for a cheap car challenge? I can't hear you. Of course I can't hear you. I'm 300 miles away from civilization in northern Michigan.
But
yes.
$2,000, a car you can drive during the winter. If any of you, while you were listening to the show or whatever, decided to go out and find one, throw it in the chat, and I will, I will highlight it.
We'll highlight it, talk about it, join us on this.
It sounded like you had more than two, maybe.
So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to choose from.
Okay,
but three of them are kind of the same thing.
Okay.
Again, the reference here, $2,000, something interesting. But I mean, not really any other criteria beyond that. We weren't looking at Japanese or European or
Could be
trucks
anything.
or cars. So I'm sure everybody knows that I have some strange tastes. You want me to go first?
Yeah, it sounds like you're ready to go. Yeah, go for it.
Well, let me get this yanked up here. I got to go with the Pontiac Aztec, man. I found a 2002
Okay.
Pontiac Aztec Sport Utility, 171,000 miles.
Is that
It says it runs good, never had a problem with it. Looking for a car, SUV, small truck, or something on trade. I mean, the photos, it doesn't look bad. It's in
Oh,
Owasso, Michigan, which is about an hour and a half from me.
sure.
I will say it looks like there's something missing from that front fender, but
Yeah, there's supposed to be like a piece of black trim there, I think.
well, it looks like maybe more that it's just kind of rusted through there on that front fender.
It's Michigan. You're gonna have that.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if I can get a closer look
But
on
do I
that
see
one.
that price right? It's $1,500.
$1,500, man. And I mean,
Not bad.
can you really do any better on
I
a
mean,
winter car?
that's
I don't know if this one is all-wheel drive or not. I think some of them were front-wheel drive. But even if it's front wheel, I mean, hey, it's all right.
I mean, it's four-wheel drive. Yeah.
It's an Aztec. It's ugly, but I think over time it has embraced its ugliness.
I mean, the thing is,
I don't know if it has the optional tent. I really that would make it even better for me. But I mean, these things just had all kinds of interesting little quirks and things going on
they
inside. I don't mean to sound like a certain reviewer with a
well,
cars and bids
famously,
website there, but
couldn't you
it's
remove the center console and use it as like a cooler? That was a thing, right?
I can't remember if that was in there or not. There was I want to say there was something that you could remove
Yeah, there's something you could
to
take
use
out. I
like
thought
that.
it was the center console or like the center,
Uh-huh.
bit, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, there was something you could use as a cooler and take out with you.
I mean that the driver's seat looks pretty worn. I mean, but it's a winter car, right? It's a winter
Exactly.
car.
It's not supposed to be pristine. It's a winter car.
It's early 2000s Pontiac, so it's just got plastic trim everywhere. It's got the 3400 V6, which is not my favorite engine. One of our ramblers made a comment earlier. Patrick, I think it was, talking about missing the old GM 3.8 liter. I've seen some wild stuff when I worked at Valvoline for sure. I miss supercharged engines like the old GM 3.8. That engine is just a legend. If you kill it, it's because you were trying way too hard to kill it. Whereas the
Also, Patrick
3400,
said, my first car was a 99 Outback with 181,000 miles, and it had 260,000 miles when I got a newer car.
all right,
Yeah.
Patrick, I gotta ask, how many head gaskets in that time? How
You
many head
own a
gaskets?
Subaru.
I own a Subaru with the promise that the head gaskets were recently done before I bought it. And
Okay.
there's no paperwork to back it up, but a close examination, it looked to me like those were Felpro, different
He says
gaskets in
none.
there.
He claims.
None. Oh man,
He
yeah, okay.
claims.
You're one of the fortunate ones.
Yeah.
One of the fortunate ones. So yeah, Pontiac Aztec, $1,500, runs good. Never had a problem with it. Means it's probably going to fall apart when you take it off the driveway. But I mean, it doesn't look that bad considering some of the winter cars I've had, Bruce.
Yeah, that's fine.
This doesn't look bad, and it's got space inside. It's got neat features. It has personality, I guess you could say, right? So that's that. When I found that one, I was like, okay, that's a keeper. And then I
Okay.
thought, well, okay, Owasso was like an hour and 45. No, not even that far. It's like maybe an hour and a half away from me. Do I really want to go actually get it? No.
I've got a caveat mine just for a moment. Well, I got two caveats. First off, I understand people say that rear wheel drive is terrible in the winter.
All BS.
Exactly. And the vehicle I picked has an especially long wheelbase, which is going to make it even better. And also, the other thing is, it appears to literally be being sold by a little old lady. and the car is gorgeous. And I hope someone calls this nice old woman up and buys this car from her, because it's something. I found a 2000 Ford Crown Victoria for $1,200. It is being sold by Frida, who looks like just the nicest lady in the world. And
There's a body in the trunk.
It's
1,000% guaranteed. There's a body in the
trunk.
trunk.
Look at the seats. It's perfect.
Look at look at the profile. Bruce, I've always said it. This price point, you have to shop the seller as much as the car. Look at her. There's a body in the trunk, guaranteed. This is way too wholesome.
Yeah, I know it's $1,200, but the paint's nuked, but who cares? The leather's great. And these things, they have long wheelbases. You'll be able to find parts forever, but because between fleet agencies and the police, like I'm not, you're going to find parts every single day, all day long. I can't figure out why someone wouldn't buy this car. It was only listed a day ago, and I bet by tomorrow it gets sold.
It could be sold. I mean, if it's legit in good shape, without any significant issues, yeah.
I will say
the P71. There's a big following for the P71 Vics, whether they're ex police cars or just the regular Crown Vics. They're big body on frame,
messed up, but
comfy.
Who cares?
And yes, you put a good set of tires on there, and I'm a big advocate for good tires, and specifically snow tires. And honestly, I mean, it's a big car. There's already going to be a good amount of weight over that back axle. I would put a little bit more weight back there just for good measure.
Throw some bags.
My first car was a Crown Victoria, and I drove it through northern Michigan winters on sketchy all-season Goodyear Eagles.
Ooh, boy.
Never mind actual snow tires. And yeah, that would go through. I mean, when was it? Well, at this point, it was 12 years ago, 13 years ago or so. I was doing a series for Winding Road magazine called Flip This Car, and I bought a 94 Buick Roadmaster sedan for a winter car. It came on all-terrain truck tires, and I literally drove that car. I literally drove that car down an unplowed road to get to work, 2 miles. At some points, I was going through 1.5 2 foot drifts. I mean, I had speed built up. The only way I got through was literally punching through them. Just a tank, tank. And then I also drove.
The mileage is only 90,000, essentially 500 miles. Like it literally seems like the little old lady car. Like, I bought this. I got nothing. I can't think of a better car than this. I've got one other pick, but this is the better one.
The only thing that I would say, it's not very interesting.
Isn't it though?
Good winter car, but it's not very interesting. It's got leather. It's nice inside, but it's not really. Maybe, I mean, I've driven a ton of these cars. Maybe I'm just kind of jaded by them.
I don't know. I think it could still be interesting, but okay.
I mean, it could be fun. The V8 with a rear wheel drive with the longer wheelbase. It's like, okay, how long do you want to stay in opposite lock? You can just, I mean, you could literally turn the wrong way at every corner, and with a little bit of skill, you can keep it on the road. Now, I'm not saying anybody out there listening to do that. You should drive nice and safe and cautiously and defensively at all times.
Yep. So I want to call out some comments here. Yep. Vampire Bear. Yes, I know Hilliard is a suburb of Columbus because I'm living there right now. So that, trust me, I know exactly where it is. I'm there. Patrick says, my one classmate had a cop car in the same style. He blew the rear end straight out of it. The differential had a hole. How do you do that? I thought everything I've ever heard said these things are just dead nuts reliable, but children.
Oh, you can do it.
And
You
then
can
10
do
out
it.
of green. I've got 2 Panther platform cars from the sweetest old lady I knew. My mom, 20 years apart. They were great cars. So,
Nice.
yeah.
Well, I am on the lookout, Ramblers, for a 1982 Ford LTD Crown Victoria. I want to stress in
Oh,
1982, it
yeah.
was LTD Crown
D.
Victoria.
Yes.
That was my first car. And I very, very seldom see them because who the hell wants an 82 LTD Crown Victoria?
Yeah.
Well,
They've returned to the earth.
most of them
Okay.
have.
Your
But
turn.
if I find one, it's there. Okay. I've got a lot to choose from, man.
I've only got one more. So let's do 2 each. So do your second best pick.
I don't know if it's my second best, but this is the one I'm going to go with because it would be super interesting, and I bet it would go through the snow surprisingly well.
Is it a
Um,
Saab? Did
is
you
is
pick a
this
Saab?
is this showing up on the
Oh,
screen?
come
There it
on.
is. There it is. That's a
That's a
1990.
terrible choice.
That is not a terrible choice. When the roads get really bad, you just stop and take a nap.
Oh, come
This is a
on, man.
1995 Ford. It's a Jayco motorhome. It's a single axle, dual wheel single axle motorhome. It's built on a big Econoline chassis. It's got everything you need for a winter vehicle.
Does it
460 cubic
now?
inch engine, runs like a Swiss watch. Transmission is strong and shifts like it should. Boom, right there. That's all you need for a winter beater. That's all you need. The engine runs, the transmission shifts. It means you can go. Odometer shows 35,000 miles.
Yeah,
I, I
right.
guarantee, I
More
guarantee
like
you, it has
130.
never. No, it's no. Look at it. It's never rolled over. That's 35,000 original miles. Tires are
Oh,
with a
man.
lowercase r. Tires are new with plenty of tread. It appears previous owners fixed leaks.
It appears like that's
But hey, the maintenance, right? It's got 2 gas tanks. It sleeps 6. It's pretty clean for the year. Got this on trade. Would rather have the cash. Would make a great deer hunting shack or fix it up inside, and you would have a great little motor home. $2,000 cash in hand. Money talks. This isn't very far from me. Um, yeah, look, I mean, hey, little power wash on the outside. Just get rid
yeah,
of some of the scum on there.
yeah.
Inside, we see there's a table. There's a sofa.
There is a sofa.
There are cushions laying about. It's a camper. It's got a ladder to get up onto the roof. And with the weight, I bet that would just eliminate snow with extreme prejudice.
I don't
Is
know,
what
buddy.
and if the
You know what I
heater,
will say?
if the van heater doesn't work, just set up a kerosene heater in the back.
I think you, your wife, and Scarlet the cat would have many a happy night in that.
I bet they wouldn't go anywhere near it. They would be like, hell no, get away from me, you creeper.
Yeah.
But is it interesting? I think so. Is it $2,000? Yep.
Yeah.
Can you drive it through winter?
Okay. I will admit my second choice is not interesting.
Oh man, I'm concerned now. If the Crown Vic was your first choice.
No, it's just, but I do have nostalgia for this vehicle. I got my driver's license in a vehicle very similar to this in the snow, by the way. It is a 2000 Jeep Cherokee. According to the seller, it has recent exhaust work, brake work, new battery, nice tires. It's got over 200,000 miles on it. You know, it's the two-tone, it's white over black. The one that we had was all black. I agree it is not the most interesting vehicle, but it is a vehicle I have driven in the snow, and I would feel incredibly comfortable driving this throughout a winter. They are very, very capable vehicles when the snow starts falling. I agree, though, it is not the most interesting choice. I should mention the price. It is $2,000 exactly. You know, it's got that 4-liter inline 6, which is pretty, as I recall. We had a few little issues with ours, but nothing terrible. It's got the automatic, you know, it's I know this is not, I wish I had picked, like, I'll be totally honest with you. There was a Jaguar XJ8 Vandenpla for $2,000 that I almost picked, but it wasn't technically, the guy said like it needed a ton of work. This one at least runs, and
Oh,
again, it's a vehicle I have nostalgia for because I got my driver's license in, I believe my family's was a 97 Jeep Cherokee. Like it's something I'm familiar with. It's something I have a little bit nostalgia for. And I
oh,
know I've literally driven them in the winter. It'll be fine.
oh yeah, for sure. I mean that even with those tires on, I mean I have snow tires that I put on the Forester just to make extra sure I'm completely unstoppable in the snow. That
Yeah.
on all seasons is going to be amazing. Especially it looks
Yep.
like it's got some what else like a decent all terrain tire. I can't quite make it out there on the side. What is that? Nexian.
Rodions.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, Nexian Rodion
Well,
ATs.
well, hey, I mean, four-wheel drive, you can go
Yeah.
turning and stopping. We'll see. Um, yeah, I
Well,
can't fault your pick. Other than,
we'll
I mean,
wait.
I would agree it's not
Let's
terribly interesting.
we need to wait a moment because my mother is weighing in. Goes in the snow, and the Cherokee will haul rocks and trees in a pinch. This is because, and I think we are well past the statute of limitations. My mother and I used to steal rocks from State Park because she wanted them for her garden, and we would load them into the truck. So, am I
What?
a criminal? Yes, technically, but yes, it that I've done this. This is my crime.
All right, vamp for me just a little bit here, Bruce.
Okay, I'm here for you.
I gotta take us on a little side trip here if I can.
No, wait, I've got another story. So the other thing was there was this man, there was I believe he was German who sold trees near to our home. And that is what she is talking about, hauling trees in a pinch, because we went and picked up trees from this guy. And so he had like a skid steer, and he was complaining that, the hatch obviously opens upwards like most hatches. It doesn't open, out. And he was complaining because he couldn't haul the tree directly into the back of it. And he got really angry about that for reasons I'm never gonna totally understand. But that's another thing that happened. And
Well,
like, yeah. Oh, do you need me to vamp some more? Because I'll keep telling Jeep stories.
no, no, sadly, I was in a former life. I wrote about driving a 5-liter Mustang convertible through winter.
Okie doke.
And I actually used it to haul Christmas trees with the
Okie
roof
doke.
down. It was an outstanding vehicle to go get Christmas trees. So you don't
Wait,
necessarily
don't
just
you
a
do
top
that
tip.
every year with your Mustang? Don't you dress up as Santa every year and drive
I,
around?
I wasn't dressing up as Santa in that one. I was just using the hell
You were
out of
just
it.
you. Okay.
I,
Okay.
I I was just using the hell. It's like, okay, it's 40 degrees. It's reasonably warm. There's a
But wait,
Christmas tree farm like 5 miles away. Put the
let's
roof down
clarify
and
to the
just stick the
audience.
tree in the back.
You do dress up as Santa and drive around in your Mustang. Am I
I
lying
didn't. I
about that?
didn't. I didn't last year because I was still trying to move into to the new house and get acclimated. But
You didn't
prior to
last year,
that,
but you have
yes,
done it in the past.
the
Okay.
the red 95. Yep, I'll put on. I don't have like a full Santa suit, but I'll get like the hat and I'll get the beard and just drive around with the roof down. This was out in South Dakota, honking and waving to people, and yeah, hey,
Okay.
I'm
I,
spreading cheer and
there's
good
not, I'm
joy
not
and
judging you. I think that's a
and,
very
and
cool thing to
goodwill.
do. I just wanted
And
the audience to know I wasn't crazy.
no, I'm the crazy one, apparently. Unfortunately, I was trying to find because that was an article at Winding Road magazine that I wrote a long time ago. And I see that series has now been taken down. So I
Oh
have
man.
I have my photos in archive somewhere that I could reference at some point.
Okie doke.
Has for the cheap car challenge. Let me share one more here with you, Bruce. If
All right,
if if
last
I
one.
can
We're
if,
running
if
out
I
of
can
time. The last
if I
one.
can if I can be so bold here, because
You're
you were
welcome to.
specifically
Yeah.
asking about this, and yes, I found one. and yes, I would drive it. It would be wonderfully interesting. Saabs are always interesting. This is a 1990 Saab 900 turbo. Now,
Oh, it's a turbo.
I want
Is it a
to be clear.
5-speed? Because that automatic will die. That automatic will die in days.
I want to be clear. It is a 5-speed. It does say it is classified as a parts car, but but it meets all the criteria for a winter beater.
Yeah.
Originally purchased as a parts car, ended up selling my other 900. Runs and drives well. Boom. Right there, all you need.
Yeah,
First gear is not accessible. Is there a linkage issue? For some reason, it doesn't go into first gear. So just, hey, ride the clutch a little bit more in second. So you've got engine, you've got a functional transmission. The body is pretty rusty. Would be an ambitious restoration project.
Like maybe the underpan is, but
it's a black.
The panels look good.
It's a black car. I'm sure there's lots of rust on it that you can't really see. I mean, I can just see some around the fenders right there. But I mean, all in all, looking around it,
good.
The paint is cooked on it. There are. I mean, as you start looking, we're looking at the interior now. I mean, it's got a tan leather interior. The driver's seat's pretty tore up.
Dude, I've seen way worse, and I know you have too.
I know, right?
It's bad.
It's like they call it a parts car, but I literally drove a Volkswagen without a floor through a winter.
Yeah, that seat is not. It's cracked and stuff, but that's just 30-year-old leather. Like,
it looks like there are rust stains on the carpet. I'm dying to know what's under there, if there's anything under that carpeting. I mean, when you get close, it looks like, I mean, you could see there's been rust patches done around the fenders. So I mean, yeah, rusty. The paint is blown off of it.
Yeah, okay.
But for winter car, runs, drives, okay.
I mean, it's Swedish.
First year,
it's gonna go through the snow like no other, because that's all Sweden knows. Like it's gonna be fine.
So I was going between that and the other motorhome. I've driven super rusty cars that run kind of sketchy.
Motorhome all day, every day.
Yeah, I know. That's why I had to share, because when I found that, and here's the $1,500. And the ironic part, it's for sale in Whitmore Lake. I used to live in Whitmore Lake, and I'm pretty sure I know exactly where this car is, because I think I recognize some of the houses behind it.
Okay. That's a good pick. That's a really good pick. You're right. It's
900 turbo,
but it's a perfect winter car, because hell, you drive it for 4 months. You know, you drive it November to March, April. You know.
Yep. You wheel it out, you buff it up, you advertise it just as graduations are happening. And hey, you want to get your kids just a cheap little graduation car? Boom, here you go. Exactly. Disclosing obviously everything that's wrong with it, because I wouldn't suggest panning bad cars onto young drivers. No,
that would be wrong. But yeah, I think.
Oh geez, Group FBCs, don't encourage me, man. This needs saving. It must be saved. Patrick Stark, yes, my favorite. Do not enable me. I've already got one parts car that doesn't run. It doesn't even roll. Bruce, yours. At least your cheap car, your 300, at least yours moves. Mine is literally up on jack stands because all 4 wheels are frozen up.
Yeah. Really? That's a bummer. I didn't know that.
Well, I'm fairly certain it's just the brakes that are frozen up. I can move a couple of the rear wheels if I put a lot of force in there. Dude, the car sat outside for 4 years. I mean, the brakes are froze up.
You think it's brakes and not the bearings?
Yes. It could be both, for all I know. It's probably just the brakes. I'm ready to just replace everything if I need to.
So we're finishing up here, but real quick, Patrick Stark, I love a Subaru Brat. Yeah, I do too, but find one that's still in decent shape. They're kind of have all returned to the earth these days.
They've all gone to the rust graveyard.
Exactly. Real quick, I want to say I gotta check my calendar. It might be 3 weeks now that I mention it.
And in November.
It's November 29th. We will have a guest on the show. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. His name is Carl Pulley. He runs the Honda Museum collection in Torrance, California, that they just opened. There's been a Honda Museum collection at the Suzuka circuit in Japan for years and years now. But now they have one in California as well. And he is one of the folks managing that. And so he is going to be on the show. We have him confirmed for at least half an hour. And I'm going to try to, I'm going to try to get him on longer than that, but we'll at least get half an hour with him to talk about the collection that they have there. So looking forward
Super
to
excited
that.
for
Again,
that.
yep, that'll be November 29th. But otherwise, again, please, feel free to email us, podcast@motor1.com. Any suggestions you have for the show. Again, like I said, anything you really, really like that we do, anything you really, really hate that we do, anything you think we should do, like, just let us know. Yeah, not a problem. So yeah. And with that, I think we're gonna call it a night. As always, we really appreciate that you decided to spend time with us. We love our commenters. We love the fact that we get to have fun with you guys every week. It's a highlight of my week. And yeah, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. Thank you for spending time with us, and it's always super appreciated. So bye bye.